After the First Tiberian War, the GDI established itself as the most powerful military force on the planet, which allowed it to gain more funding and influence. Even so, the Brotherhood of Nod, without a fixed leader, continued to be a persistent headache for the GDI. Over these 30 years, and with the status they achieved, the organization was able to improve and advance technologically in the military field. And why didn't they try to find solutions to the Tiberian problem? Well, they did, but Nod often ruined those plans. However, at least one of those projects succeeded, which I'll talk about later. Continuing in the military sphere, many of the advancements resulted in bipedal vehicles, aerial/floating/repulsor craft, or whatever you prefer to call them, designed to tackle the terrain instability caused by the spread of Tiberium. Space applications also stand out, such as the GDSS Philadelphia Station, the Mobile Command Center, or rather, the Kodiak spacecraft, unique in its class and capable of reaching any part of the planet in record time to provide support to local GDI forces. In this video, we'll talk about the GDI and its 3 military branches. And the Navy? That's for another day. Due to the spread of Tiberium and the risk of exposure to it, the infantry's uniform was airtight, resembling a hazmat suit, designed to protect soldiers in crystal-infested terrains and from its harmful effects. Although the suit was sturdy, it didn't cover all risks and offered protection comparable to standard armor. The first unit is the GDI Light Infantry, the most basic of all. They are equipped with the M16 Mark II pulse rifle, which bears some resemblance to the iconic M41A pulse rifle from Alien. This unit wears an environmental suit that allows them to move across any terrain, even in close proximity to Tiberium. They are ideal for taking on other Nod infantry units. A special accessory that can be equipped to the infantry is the flight pack or jet pack, turning them into the units known as jump jets. These low-flying aerial units are excellent scouts and can carry out ambushes thanks to their Gatling weaponry. While their pulse rifle remains effective against enemy infantry and other air units, they are highly vulnerable to anti-aircraft weapons and should not be deployed during ion storms. The next unit is the explosive specialist, known as the disc thrower. Previously called grenadiers, this evolution left behind standard grenades in favor of explosive discs, which are highly effective. The discs not only deal greater damage over wide areas but are also potent against enemy vehicles and structures. However, disc throwers are slow, carry only their discs as weaponry, and are vulnerable, so they must be accompanied by standard infantry. Despite these limitations, they fulfill their role efficiently. Veteran infantry soldiers and disc throwers have the ability to be deployed directly from drop pods launched from the GDSS Philadelphia space station, in the style of Helldivers. Man, Helldivers is epic, I should play it. GDI medics are indispensable in their formations. Their primary role is to heal their allies, even from the most severe injuries. If wounded themselves, they can also use their equipment to heal. They lack secondary weaponry, as their mission is to save lives, not to fight. Finally, engineers continue to fulfill their key role, repairing buildings, capturing important facilities including enemy ones, and rebuilding destroyed bridges with their specialized equipment. Now we move on to the units you wanted to know more about, the mechanical units. And yes, I call them that because, honestly, the term vehicles doesn't quite cut it here. As I mentioned earlier, GDI's technological advancements during the war led to the development of bipedal units. These proved ideal for unstable terrain, though, to be honest, they were also created because, well, they looked awesome. That said, despite their effectiveness, they were extremely expensive, which ended up costing GDI dearly by the war's end. We start with the Wolverines, designed to replace Humvees in scouting and combat roles. Standing at about 3 meters, 9 feet, tall, this unit featured light armor and was armed with 2 mini-machine guns, lethal against infantry and light vehicles. It was piloted by a single person and equipped with floodlights for nighttime operations and a communication antenna. It was fast, versatile, and effective for patrolling and close combat. When things got more serious, the medium battle mechanized walking Titan, or simply Titan 4 short, stepped in. This was GDI's primary combat walker, designed in the 21st century as a replacement for the medium tank. Standing 7.6 meters tall, about 25 feet, it was armed with a laser-guided 120mm cannon and built with high-strength materials. Its massive all-terrain legs allowed it to traverse any surface, moving slowly but steadily. It was perfect for firing from elevated positions, giving it an edge over enemy defenses. However, the Titan had 2 main drawbacks: its low speed and vulnerability to large groups of infantry. In combat, it was paired with Wolverines, which covered these weaknesses. Despite this, the Titan's chassis design was heavily utilized by GDI, serving as the foundation for more advanced units like the Juggernaut. After the war, it was discontinued due to high maintenance costs and replaced by the Predator tank. As the war escalated and Nod's defenses, like the Obelisk of Light, proved to be a threat, the Juggernaut was developed. This walker, based on the Titan's chassis, was armed with three 120mm artillery cannons. Designed for sieges, its cannons fired in sequence to maximize impact on multiple targets and avoid destabilizing the unit. However, it required deploying a third stabilizing leg to fire, making it vulnerable to rapid assaults and unable to attack at close range. Though it needed escorts for protection, the Juggernaut was a key piece in GDI's arsenal, and several variants were developed, though not all saw widespread use. Finally, we come to the legendary Mammoth Mk2, successor to the iconic Mammoth tank. This giant was a prototype during the Second Tiberian War but already proved to be one of GDI's most powerful weapons. It was equipped with twin turrets effective against infantry and light vehicles, two rear-mounted anti-air missile launchers, and railguns that could reduce any enemy unit to rubble in seconds. Its first deployment occurred during an attack on a Nod Banshee production facility, where it destroyed the base almost single-handedly. However, its impressive performance came with high maintenance costs and reliability issues, leading to its production being halted in 2039. Despite protests, including from war hero Nick Havoc Parker, the Mk2 factories were shut down. While these units played a crucial role in the war, their high cost, complexity, and constant maintenance needs led to their discontinuation after the Second Tiberian War. GDI's priorities shifted, redirecting resources to environmental programs and more cost-effective projects. However, it wasn't all a grim ending. General Joshua Mitchell created a special division called the Steel Talons, which gathered the remaining BIPs and relocated them to Australia to continue their development. Perhaps we'll dive deeper into this division in the future. Air Propulsion Units. After the First Tiberian War and decades of research and experimentation, GDI developed air propulsion technology as an innovative solution to overcome terrain limitations. This technology, also known as hover or air cushion tech, allows a vehicle to float on a layer of pressurized air generated between the vehicle and the surface. This air cushion is created by fans or turbines blowing air downward, reducing contact with the ground or water, resulting in impressive mobility across virtually any environment. Hover MLRS. One of the standout units of this technology was the Hover Multiple Launch Rocket System, MLRS, a mobile missile platform designed for both anti-tank and ground-to-air combat. Mounted on a floating chassis, the Hover MLRS could traverse rough terrain and bodies of water with ease, achieving considerable speeds without being affected by harsh weather conditions. Its maneuverability and tactical flexibility made it a key tool in GDI operations. However, it wasn't perfect. Its air propulsion system was vulnerable to ion storms, leaving it immobilized in critical situations. It also faced reliability issues, such as damage from ground strikes when the hover system suddenly failed. Additionally, it was costly to operate and maintain. These weaknesses ultimately led to the technology's discontinuation. Like the BIPs, air propulsion units played a significant role during the Tiberian Wars, but their drawbacks, combined with GDI's shift toward more sustainable and economical projects, led to their phasing out. Still, not all was lost. Some heroes managed to preserve these technologies, though they ended up in the hands of the Steel Talons and Zocom divisions. Disruptor. GDI's experiments to halt Tiberium spread led to the development of innovative technologies like harmonic resonance, or sonic tech. Though initially created to contain the crystal, military leaders saw its potential as a weapon. Thus, the Disruptor was born, a unique unit armed with a powerful harmonic resonance cannon mounted on a turret. The Disruptor's cannon used special sonic crystals that, when energized, emitted destructive sonic energy waves. These waves were amplified and projected toward targets via a specially designed reflective structure. Its power was staggering, capable of inducing vibrations that literally shattered anything in its path, including enemy buildings and mechanized units like Cabal's cyborgs. Despite its devastating power, the Disruptor had limitations. Its range was moderate, and the sonic waves damaged both enemy and friendly units in the line of fire, forcing commanders to use it cautiously. However, its ability to penetrate buildings and hit multiple targets simultaneously made it a lethal battlefield tool. The vehicle mounting the turret was fairly simple, similar to those used in mobile construction vehicles. This made it slow but also extremely durable, thanks to its heavy armor. Though high construction costs led to the Disruptor's discontinuation as a standard unit, its technology wasn't lost. It was handed over to a specialized GDI division known as ZOCOM, dedicated to combating Tiberium and minimizing its spread. In this context, harmonic resonance proved invaluable for crystal control. Support vehicles. Now we shift from combat vehicles to support units, starting with Amphibious APC. The Amphibious Armored Personnel Carrier was a key GDI support unit during the Second Tiberium War and the Firestorm conflict. This redesigned version of the classic APC took a more utilitarian and efficient approach. Its machine gun was removed to boost speed, especially over water, sacrificing direct combat capability against ground units. Though unarmed, its ability to travel across bodies of water made it ideal for rapidly transporting infantry squads, enabling strategic assaults on island strongholds. A memorable example was its use in the attack on the infamous Commander Vega's base. Over time, after the Firestorm conflict ended, the Amphibious APC was replaced by the Guardian APC and its specialized variant, the Mobile Repair Transport, both more modern and versatile. Mobile Sensor Array. These support units were used by GDI, NOD, and Cabal during the Second Tiberium War and the Firestorm conflict. The primary purpose of the Mobile Sensor Array, MSA, was to detect cloaked or subterranean units and buildings, as well as approaching enemy forces. To function, the MSA had to be deployed, as its highly sensitive microphones and scanner arrays were affected by the vehicle's engine vibrations and noise. Since NOD held a monopoly on cloaking and subterranean tech, these units were only significantly practical during GDI's campaign, though they remained available. However, when Cabal rebelled during the Firestorm conflict, NOD made extensive use of them against stealth and underground units. Later, this vehicle was phased out as technological advances allowed such sensors to become more compact and integrated into other vehicles. Mobile EMP, created and deployed during the Firestorm events, the Mobile EMP was developed in response to the need for a portable electromagnetic pulse (EMP) weapon. It proved useful against Cabal and its cyborgs but later fell into disuse due to its fragility, limited EMP blast radius, and the fact that no one wanted to operate it. Mobile War Factory. A heavy vehicle similar to the Mobile Construction Vehicle (MCV) that can relocate to different positions. Once deployed, it functions as a fully operational war factory, capable of building vehicles like a conventional war factory. This provides a major tactical advantage in terms of logistics. One of the key areas that secured GDI's victory was air dominance, and the most famous vehicle in this domain was the Orca, which proved decisive against NOD. After the war, all sorts of variants were developed, including a space-capable version. The first and iconic one is the Orca, whose acronym was officially adopted as the codename for a family of aircraft developed from the original Orca assault craft during the First Tiberium War. By the Second Tiberium War, the original concept was revised and redesigned, giving rise to the Orca fighter, which replaced both the original Orca and most of GDI's combat aircraft. This fighter remained an air assault vehicle based on VTOL technology, equipped with upgraded, miniaturized engines. Its armor was improved, and it was armed with Hellfire missiles. Compared to the original Orca, the Orca fighter carried fewer missiles, but they were larger and more powerful. The chin-mounted minigun was removed, as the plane's design was optimized as an anti-tank attack fighter, a role in which the minigun had little to no use. An additional role of the Orca fighter was to provide cover for the slower, more vulnerable Orca bombers, distracting or suppressing enemy anti-air defenses until they could reach their targets. The Orca fighter was replaced by the Orca Mk-3 during the Third Tiberium War. A more specialized variant is the Orca bomber, an aircraft designed for anti-surface operations, used during the Second Tiberium War and the Firestorm conflict. Heavier and better armored than its cousin, the Orca fighter, this bomber sacrificed speed for firepower. By unleashing a barrage of high-explosive bombs and attack runs, the Orca bomber was ideal for softening ground defenses at the start of a base assault. During the Second Tiberium War, GDI's high command deemed it useful to have a fleet of light, maneuverable aircraft based on variants of the original Orca. One of the most common was the Orca bomber, dedicated exclusively to air-to-ground combat. Building on the success of the Orca assault craft in the First Tiberium War, the engineering corps was tasked with creating a design capable of bringing the fight to NOD's ground forces from the air. Work began immediately, and within months, a plan was presented to the board of directors, which approved it for mass production. It was nearly identical to the original Orca, except for 2 large bomb bays installed on either side of the hull, allowing it to drop a massive load of high-explosive, high-impact freefall munitions onto the target area. By the Third Tiberian War, the Orca bomber's role was partially taken over by the Firehawk fighter bomber. Now we move to the Orca transport variants. Thanks to the Orca's success, the name extended to different types of aircraft, including transports. The carryall Orca, the largest of all Orcas, had the critical task of picking up or delivering units to any point on the battlefield. Equipped with a large grappling device, the carryall could transport any vehicle present on the terrain. However, its weak armor made it vulnerable, so it had to avoid crossing dangerous zones. For all intents and purposes, the carryall was replaced by the V-35 Ox, a VTOL supply delivery transport craft. Interestingly, NOD adopted this design and created its own version. The Orca dropships were GDI's heavy military freighters, capable of transporting large numbers of soldiers, mechs, and other equipment over long distances. They were used during the Second Tiberian War and the Firestorm crisis. With 4 powerful engines and immense cargo capacity, the dropship represented the next generation of transport aircraft. It had full VTOL capability and could reach a combat zone to deploy substantial GDI forces almost instantly, including the heavy Mammoth Mk-2. Some dropships were equipped with heat shields for atmospheric re-entry and more powerful engines, allowing them to land on the GDSS Philadelphia. However, they were prone to crashing during ion storms, much like other aircraft. By the Third Tiberian War, nothing more was heard of them. They were likely destroyed after the station's fall. The Orca transport was a lightly armored GDI transport craft used during the Second Tiberian War and the Firestorm conflict. Equipped with 4 turboshaft engines that provided great stability, its cargo hold could quickly transport personnel and light munitions across vast distances. However, its light construction and lack of armor made it vulnerable to any type of anti-air weaponry. GDI used these craft to evacuate infantry from combat zones or conduct civilian rescues. Their vulnerabilities limited them to operations where enemy air defenses had already been neutralized. At the start of the Second Tiberian War, during an attack on a NOD base following the assault on GDI's Phoenix base, 2 Orca transports flying to evacuate civilians were destroyed by a single hit from NOD SAM sites. This transport was replaced by the V-35 Ox in the Third Tiberian War. And with that, we could wrap up. Wait, I forgot one. The Kodiak is one of GDI's Orca command vehicles, a large VTOL carrier that served as a mobile command center for field commanders. Capable of entering low Earth orbit, the Kodiak included facilities to transport and tactically support GDI troops, such as armories and medical bays. It also featured a large cargo bay in the rear section, with an access ramp located between the aft engines. The Kodiak was used by Commander Michael McNeil as his command post to travel the world with his team. However, this reliance nearly cost him dearly. During a violent ion storm, the Brotherhood had not attempted to capitalize on the situation to attack it. Despite this, McNeil's forces defended the Kodiak and neutralized the NOD troops in the area. At the start of the Firestorm crisis, the Kodiak was assigned to transport the Tacitus device from NOD's pyramid in Cairo as part of Project Daedalus. Commanded by Chandra, it took off toward the GDSS Philadelphia, heading northwest through an emerging ion storm. The Kodiak crashed in northern Egypt near the Mediterranean coast after losing its starboard engines to a lightning strike. The bow section broke off on impact. A Firestorm task force team found no survivors but recovered the intact Tacitus from the rear section. For unknown reasons, Michael McNeil was not on board during the incident. After the Firestorm conflict, GDI halted the development of large-scale aircraft due to their high manufacturing and maintenance costs, and the remaining Orca command vehicles were retired. However, following the Third Tiberian War, the GDI Council reconsidered this decision. The presence of heavily armored Skrin spacecraft, such as the Devastator warships and planetary assault carriers, underscored the need to regain large-scale air superiority. And with this, I conclude the analysis of GDI's units during the events of the Second Tiberian War and Firestorm. In the next video, we'll talk about NOD's units and, possibly, Cabal's forces as well. Thank you so much for watching the video. Don't forget to give it a like, subscribe, share it with your friends, and let us know in the comments which is your favorite GDI unit. See you in the next one. Until soon.